Imagine lying down in your bed tonight. You're comfortable, you're tired, you pull the blanket up the same way you have done 10,000 times before, and you close your eyes. Everything feels normal, everything feels safe. You never wake up, no warning, no chest pain you remember, no moment where you could have called out for help, just silence. And somewhere in the dark hours between midnight and dawn, your heart simply stopped winning a battle that had been building inside your arteries for years. This is not a rare tragedy. This is not something that happens to other people. Every single year, more than 800,000 Americans suffer heart attacks. A staggering number of them happen at night, and the research published in the European Heart Journal makes the pattern unmistakable. Fatal cardiovascular events spike dramatically between midnight and 6 in the morning, precisely when older adults believe they are the safest. Here is the part that should stop you cold. For the overwhelming majority of these people, it was not bad luck. It was not simply genetics. It was something they were doing every single night, in their own bed, in their own home, believing it was completely harmless. Some of these habits even felt like the responsible, healthy choice. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to show you the 5 silent nighttime killers that turn sleep into the most dangerous hours of your day, and more importantly, exactly what you can do starting tonight to dramatically reduce that risk. And I need to stay with me for number 1 on this list, because that one will genuinely surprise you. Most people are convinced it is actually protecting their heart. If you are over 60, this message could literally save your life. My name is Dr. Margaret Holloway. I have spent 32 years practicing cardiology and cardiovascular medicine, working specifically with adults over the age of 60. I have sat at bedside after bedside in the cardiac unit. I have delivered news that no family should ever have to receive. And I have looked into the eyes of too many patients who asked me the same devastating question. Why did nobody warn me about this sooner? That question is why I am here. That question is why this channel exists. Every single week, I share life-saving cardiovascular information explained in plain, clear language for adults over 60. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that now. What we are about to cover is exactly why this channel exists. I am done staying quiet about this. Here is something most people do not realize. Your cardiovascular system does not get a break at night. It does not switch off. What actually happens is something far more complex and far more dangerous. Your heart and your arteries enter a period of intense biological transition. Blood pressure is supposed to drop. Heart rate is supposed to slow. Your nervous system is supposed to shift into deep repair mode. When this process works correctly, sleep heals your heart. It is one of the most restorative things your body does. But when certain habits interfere with this transition, sleep becomes a physiological minefield. This damage does not announce itself. It does not send you a warning signal the night before. It builds quietly, over months and over years. The arteries stiffen a fraction more each week. The plaque deposits thicken almost imperceptibly. The blood pressure spikes a little higher each night during the vulnerable hours. And by the time you feel something wrong enough to go to the emergency room, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the damage has already been done. I want you to hold on to 3 specific things I am going to tell you today, because I am going to come back to all 3 of them. First, one of the most common medications taken by adults over 60 is being taken at the wrong time, and that single timing mistake doubles nighttime stroke risk. Second, there is a bedroom habit that most people over 60 adopt specifically to sleep better, and it is quietly strangling circulation to the brain. And third, I'm going to give you a protective nighttime routine that cardiological research shows can reduce your risk of a nocturnal event by more than 40%. Now, let us talk about the 5 silent killers that operate in the dark. Number 5, and this one sets the stage for everything that follows. Eating dinner too late and too heavy. Many people look at dinner as just dinner. They think, I had a big day, I deserve a real meal, and then I will relax and go to sleep. It sounds reasonable. It sounds harmless. If you are over 60, that thinking is quietly punishing your heart every single night. Here is what is happening inside your body when you eat a large meal after 8 in the evening. Your digestive system immediately demands a massive increase in blood flow. Your stomach and intestines require that blood to break down and absorb the food you just consumed. Your heart must pump harder to redirect circulation toward your gut. Your blood pressure rises instead of falling. Your metabolic rate accelerates at the exact moment your body should be slowing down for sleep. You have forced your heart to work overnight shift when it desperately needs rest. A major study published in the European Heart Journal followed more than 100,000 adults across multiple years. The results were clear and deeply disturbing. People who regularly ate their main meal after 8 in the evening had a significantly higher risk of nighttime heart attacks and strokes compared to those who ate earlier in the day. The mechanism is not mysterious. Late digestion drives triglycerides upward in the blood. It triggers arterial inflammation, and critically, it disrupts the natural nighttime blood pressure drop, a drop that is essential for cardiovascular recovery. Think of it this way: your arteries are like a garden hose. During the day, the water pressure is high because that is what the body needs for activity. At night, that pressure is supposed to ease off. Reduced pressure means reduced stress on the vessel walls. When you eat a heavy late dinner, it is like someone turning the faucet back up to full pressure at midnight and leaving it there while you sleep. And there is another danger that almost nobody talks about. I once treated a 71-year-old retired teacher who had eaten late heavy dinners for most of her adult life. She went to bed one Thursday night feeling perfectly fine. Her husband found her unresponsive at 4 in the morning. She survived, but with significant cardiac damage that permanently limited her ability to walk without assistance. Her heart had been under continuous nighttime pressure for decades. That night, it finally gave out. How many nights this week did you eat dinner after 8? Think about that number honestly, because that number represents nights of elevated nighttime cardiovascular risk that you may not have even known you were accumulating. The good news is this: changing your dinner timing is one of the simplest, most immediately effective things you can do for your heart. Eat your main meal before 7 in the evening. Keep portions moderate and focused on lean protein, vegetables, and easily digestible foods. Your heart rate will stabilize faster, your blood pressure will drop more efficiently, and the risk of a nocturnal cardiovascular event drops significantly within just a few weeks of this one change. Now, as serious as late eating is, the next silent killer operates even more quietly, because it is happening to people who believe they are doing exactly the right thing. Number 4, going to bed even slightly dehydrated. After the age of 60, your body's thirst sensation becomes dramatically less reliable. This is a physiological fact, not an opinion. The thirst mechanism weakens with age, which means by the time you feel thirsty, you are often already meaningfully dehydrated. And many older adults deliberately limit their fluid intake in the evening to avoid waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. This sounds practical. This sounds like good sleep hygiene. For your cardiovascular system, it is quietly terrifying. And here is what most people do not realize. While you sleep, your body continues losing water. You exhale water vapor with every breath. Your skin loses moisture throughout the night. If you go to bed already mildly dehydrated, your circulatory system enters those vulnerable nighttime hours at a serious disadvantage. Here is what is happening inside your body. When you are dehydrated, your blood becomes physically thicker. Thicker blood flows more slowly through your vessels. Slower moving blood clots more easily. Now combine that with the natural nighttime slowdown. Your heart rate drops, your circulation slows, and you have created the perfect conditions for a clot to form in an artery that supplies your heart or your brain. Research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology found that even moderate dehydration, not severe dehydration, moderate, raised the risk of nighttime cardiovascular events by more than 60% in adults over 60. That number stopped me the first time I read it. 60% from not drinking enough water. Think of your blood like a river. A healthy, well-hydrated river flows steadily, clears debris, keeps channels open. A depleted river moves sluggishly. Things settle, things accumulate, things block. I remember a 68-year-old patient, a retired firefighter, a man who had spent his career running toward danger without hesitation, who told me proudly that he never drank anything after 6 in the evening. He thought he was being smart. One morning, his wife found him confused and unable to speak clearly on the left side. He had suffered a stroke overnight. Imaging showed a clot in a cerebral artery. His blood was visibly concentrated on the lab results. Dehydration was a primary contributing factor. If you are over 65, I want to ask you directly, how much water did you drink today? And did you stop drinking well before bed to avoid waking up? Leave me a number in the comments, the number of glasses you had today, because that number may be the most important cardiovascular data point you record this week. The good news is this: the fix does not require medication. It does not require expense. Drink a full glass of water approximately 90 minutes before bed, not right before, because you want time to use the bathroom before lying down. Keep a small glass of water on your nightstand. If you wake during the night, take 2 or 3 small sips before going back to sleep. This single habit keeps your blood flowing smoothly through the most vulnerable hours of the night. But what comes next is the one I promised you at the start. This is the habit that most people over 60 adopt specifically because they believe it is helping their heart. And what I am about to tell you about it completely upends that assumption. Number 3, sleeping in a room that is too warm. Across this country, and in Australia and the UK, the majority of older adults sleep in rooms that are too hot. Many people believe a warm bedroom helps them sleep more deeply. Others simply feel cold and crank the heat up for comfort. Some use heavy blankets combined with room temperatures that push well past what cardiovascular medicine considers safe. I need to be direct with you. If you are over 60 and sleeping in a room above 72 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 22 degrees Celsius, your heart is working harder tonight than it needs to. Here is what is happening inside your body. When your sleeping environment is too warm, your body attempts to release excess heat. To do that, your blood vessels dilate near the skin's surface. Your heart rate increases to push more blood toward the skin for cooling. Your body begins to sweat, which causes fluid loss, and remember what we just discussed about dehydration and blood thickness. Your cardiovascular system is simultaneously accelerating and losing the fluid it needs to operate safely. Research from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that sleeping in environments above 72 degrees Fahrenheit meaningfully elevated nighttime blood pressure and cardiovascular strain in adults over 60. Nighttime cardiovascular events tracked alongside temperature data showed a clear, consistent correlation. Hotter room, higher risk. And here is the part that surprises almost everyone. Cold is dangerous too, but for the opposite reason. When bedroom temperatures drop below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, blood vessels constrict. Vascular resistance increases. Your heart must pump against significantly higher pressure through stiffened, narrowed vessels. In older adults whose arteries have already lost some elasticity through normal aging, this constriction can be the final physical trigger for a heart attack or a stroke. I once treated a 74-year-old woman who had lowered her thermostat aggressively every winter to save on heating costs. She was healthy, active, proud of her discipline. One February morning, she woke with crushing chest pressure. She had suffered a heart attack sometime in the early hours. She recovered, but it took months. Her cardiologist determined that the combination of arterial constriction from cold and her untreated mild hypertension had created the perfect storm. The ideal sleep temperature for cardiovascular protection is between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. At this range, your heart rate remains stable, blood pressure regulation improves, sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. This is not about comfort alone. This is cardiovascular protection measured in degrees. Now, the next one affects over 30 million older adults in the United States alone, and most of them have no idea they have it. Number 2. Undiagnosed or inadequately treated sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is not just snoring. This distinction matters enormously. Sleep apnea is a condition in which the airway repeatedly collapses during sleep, sometimes for 10 seconds, sometimes for 30 seconds, sometimes longer, cutting off your oxygen supply over and over again through the night. Each time your oxygen drops, your brain triggers an emergency response. Stress hormones flood your system, your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure surges, your body jerks partially awake, often without you consciously remembering it. This can happen 200 times in a single night. And here is what most people do not realize. You do not have to be obese to have sleep apnea. You do not have to be a loud snorer. After age 60, the muscles of the throat and airway naturally lose tone. The risk of sleep apnea climbs dramatically with age, and it is severely underdiagnosed in this exact demographic. Research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association studied over 6,400 adults over the age of 65. The results were alarming. Untreated sleep apnea tripled the risk of nighttime heart attack and quadrupled the risk of stroke in this age group. The mechanism is direct. Every oxygen drop stresses the cardiovascular system. Every stress hormone surge inflames the arterial walls. Every nighttime blood pressure spike increases the chance of a plaque rupture or clot formation. Think of it this way. Imagine someone walking into your home every 30 seconds throughout the night and sounding an air horn next to your bed. Your heart jolts awake, your blood pressure spikes, then you drift back to sleep, then the air horn again, and again, for 8 hours. That is what untreated sleep apnea does to your cardiovascular system every single night, completely silently. I once treated a 66-year-old patient, a retired teacher, a man everyone described as the healthiest person they knew, who had experienced what his wife called just snoring for 15 years. He was not overweight. He exercised regularly. He ate well. He suffered a catastrophic stroke at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. He survived, but with paralysis on his right side and difficulty forming words. A sleep study performed after his stroke revealed severe sleep apnea. His oxygen had been dropping to critical levels hundreds of times a night for years. Not one doctor had ever ordered a sleep test. Warning signs to discuss with your doctor include loud chronic snoring, waking up gasping, morning headaches, extreme daytime fatigue even after a full night of sleep, and blood pressure that remains difficult to control despite medication. If you are over 60 and you have more than 2 of these symptoms, please speak to your physician about a sleep study. Treatment changes outcomes dramatically. The good news is this: sleep apnea is treatable. CPAP therapy, that is a device that delivers gentle, continuous air pressure to keep the airway open, reduces nighttime cardiovascular risk profoundly. Positional changes can help mild cases. Weight management helps when applicable. The critical step is diagnosis. You cannot treat what you do not know you have. And now we come to number 1, the one I told you about in the opening minutes. The nighttime habit most people over 60 adopt specifically to protect their health. The one that, without the right information, quietly doubles their stroke risk in the dark. Number 1, taking blood pressure medication at the wrong time of day. If you are over 60 and you take medication for blood pressure, and nearly 2/3 of adults in this age group do, when you take that medication may matter as much as whether you take it at all. This is a truth that most standard medical appointments, rushed to 10 or 15 minutes, simply do not get to. Here is what is happening inside your body. Blood pressure follows a natural circadian rhythm, a biological clock pattern. In healthy individuals, blood pressure drops between 10 and 20% during sleep. Cardiologists call this being a dipper. This drop is protective. It gives the arterial walls a period of reduced stress. It allows the heart to work less. But in many adults over 60, this drop does not happen. Or worse, blood pressure actually rises during sleep, a condition called nocturnal hypertension. This is far more common than most people realize, and it is nearly invisible because most people only measure their blood pressure during the day, sitting in a chair, in a doctor's office, when everything looks perfectly acceptable on the cuff. Now here is where medication timing becomes critical. Many adults take their blood pressure medication in the morning. This is what they were told. This is what feels logical. The medication peaks in the bloodstream during daytime hours when blood pressure is already being managed by normal activity and posture. Then, as the medication wears off during the night, blood pressure rises unchecked during the exact hours when the cardiovascular system is most vulnerable. A landmark study published in the Lancet, one of the most respected medical journals in the world, followed more than 19,000 patients with hypertension over nearly 6 years. The results were extraordinary. Patients who took at least one blood pressure medication at bedtime rather than in the morning had a 45% lower risk of dying from a cardiovascular event. 45%. They also had a 66% lower risk of experiencing a heart attack or stroke during that period. Think of medication timing like a guard standing watch. If your guard is most alert during the day, when the risk is lower, but falls asleep at 2 in the morning when the intruder is most likely to arrive, the guard is not serving its purpose. Moving even one blood pressure medication to bedtime can fundamentally change your nighttime cardiovascular protection. I remember a 63-year-old patient, a woman who took her medications without fail, every single morning, proud of her discipline. She had been told her blood pressure was well controlled. She suffered a stroke at 3 in the morning when we performed a 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, a test that measures blood pressure continuously over an entire day and night. Her nighttime readings were 20 points higher than her daytime readings. Her morning medication had completely worn off by midnight. One timing adjustment, made in collaboration with her physician, protected her for the years that followed. This is not a change to make on your own. This is a conversation to have with your doctor, specifically about bedtime dosing. The research exists. The evidence is clear. Ask your physician whether bedtime dosing of your blood pressure medication is appropriate for you. If they are not aware of the Lancet Hygia chronotherapy trial, that is the name of the study, bring it to the appointment. You have the right to this conversation. Now, before we bring this all together, there are 5 rules I need to share with you, because without these, you could do everything on this list and still not get the full protection you deserve. Rule 1. Never skip breakfast or eat your first meal after noon. Your cardiovascular system sets its circadian rhythm partly based on when you receive your first calories. A consistent early breakfast helps regulate the blood pressure patterns that govern nighttime safety. People who regularly skip breakfast have measurably higher rates of arterial stiffness and morning cardiovascular events. Rule 2. Check your blood pressure at night, not only in the morning. Most adults over 60 have only ever measured their blood pressure during daytime hours. Nighttime blood pressure is a completely separate data point. If you have a home blood pressure cuff, measure yourself once, between 10 and 11 at night, for 1 week. Bring those numbers to your doctor. If they are consistently higher than your daytime readings, you may have nocturnal hypertension, and your medication timing almost certainly needs to be reviewed. Rule 3. Alcohol before bed is not a sedative. It is a cardiovascular liability. Even 1 glass of wine or beer within 2 hours of sleep fragments sleep architecture, raises nighttime heart rate, suppresses the deep restorative sleep stages, and increases the risk of nighttime arrhythmia, irregular heart rhythms, particularly in adults over 60. If sleep quality matters to you and cardiovascular risk matters to you, move alcohol to earlier in the evening or eliminate it entirely. Rule 4. Sleep position matters more than you think. Sleeping flat on your back increases the likelihood of airway collapse in people with any degree of sleep apnea risk. For adults over 60, sleeping on your left side specifically reduces pressure on the heart by improving venous return. That is the flow of blood back toward the heart from the body's extremities. If you have ever woken up with your heart racing after sleeping on your back, this is likely the reason. Rule 5. Do not ignore morning symptoms. A headache that is there when you wake up and clears within an hour. A strange heaviness in one arm. A moment of visual disturbance that passes quickly. These are not things to dismiss and forget. These are the calling cards of nocturnal cardiovascular events, events that may have occurred while you slept and resolved before you fully regained consciousness. Each one of these symptoms warrants a call to your doctor that same day. Every one of these mistakes quietly cancels the protection you are working toward. Let us bring this all together. The 5 silent nighttime killers after 60. 5. Late heavy dinners. 4. Going to bed dehydrated. 3. Sleeping in a room that is too warm or too cold. 2. Undiagnosed or inadequately treated sleep apnea. 1. Taking blood pressure medication at the wrong time of day. Each one alone is dangerous. Together, they create a perfect storm. The truth is painful, but it is also deeply empowering. The overwhelming majority of nighttime cardiovascular events in adults over 60 are not simply fate. They are not random. They are the accumulated consequence of habits that can be changed. You do not need expensive procedures. You do not need extreme interventions. You need accurate information and the willingness to act on it tonight, not next week. Your heart has been working for you in complete silence for 60, 70, perhaps 80 years. Every single second of every single day, without a pause, without a rest, without ever asking anything from you in return. It has pumped through grief and through joy. It has kept pace through every decade of your life. It deserves the same dedication from you that it has given to you without question. The habits on this list are its way of asking, not with words, with vulnerability in the dark hours of the night. Start giving something back. Tonight. Before you leave, I ask you to do 4 important things. First, subscribe to this channel. Every week, I share evidence-based cardiovascular health information explained clearly for adults over 60. This channel exists to have the conversations that rushed appointments do not allow. Second, like this video. It helps this message reach other people over 60 who may not know they are at risk right now, tonight, in their own bedrooms. Third, leave a comment. Write, "I am protecting my heart tonight." Your commitment is not just for you. It may be the thing that convinces someone else in the comments to take this seriously. That matters. And finally, share this video with someone you care about. A spouse, a sibling, a parent, a friend who mentioned something about snoring or morning headaches. You may never know whose life you change by doing that, but the research suggests the odds are significant. This is Dr. Margaret Holloway. Take care of your heart. It has never once stopped fighting for you. I will see you in the next video.